Good afternoon. We are doing it live right here. Mottek On Money, getting right down to business. Mottek On Money, right after Guy Benson at 3 o'clock and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5. Mottek On Money, number one for your business and consumer news. And we're live on the air right now on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com and the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. Breaking news on Bitcoin this afternoon, hitting record highs. We'll be taking a closer look at the cryptos here in just a moment, but it looks like Bitcoin is just shy of 124,000 here at last blush. We're also seeing Ethereum have a big run-up, certainly hitting the highest of the year and possibly a record high today, up around 4,750 here at the moment. The overall stock market also in record high territory, with the S&P 500 popping 21 points to a new high of 6,466 after blowing past 6,400 just yesterday. The Nasdaq also a new high territory of 31 at 21,713. The Dow getting close to its all-time high, up nearly 500 again today at 44,922. Bullish, the word of the day on Wall Street, and indeed bullish, the name of a stock that skyrocketed today in its IPO day, drawing lots of attention. Bullish, the ticker symbol on this one is BLSH, moved sharply higher in its debut day. Ethereum also getting a lot of attention today in the crypto space, and we'll take a closer look at that here coming up. The Securities and Exchange Commission's recent Project Crypto announcement, an initiative to modernize the agency and establish clear regulations around the digital asset industry, has also been fueling the rally in Ethereum lately. We see one outfit, Fundstrat, sees ETH, as it's known, Ethereum, hitting prices moving as high as 15,000 by the end of the year. We'll get another opinion on that one coming up here in just a moment. Ethereum's up about 16% in just the last 5 trading sessions. Bitcoin's up about 4 to 5% this week. Bitmine, Immersion Technologies, BMNR is the ticker symbol on that one, chaired by Tom Lee. Fundstrat's Tom Lee announced plans to sell up to another $20 billion worth of stock to increase his holdings of Ethereum. The earnings parade continues with Cisco reporting fourth quarter results that were slightly better than Wall Street had been expecting. Cisco closed down 98 cents to 70 and change and is a little bit lower in after-hours trading. Meanwhile, we're watching what the Fed might do at some point next month, namely. It looks like bets are being placed on a rate cut. According to Treasury Secretary Besson, he wants to see a 1.5% rate cut next month. Markets pricing in nearly a 99% chance of an interest rate cut from the Fed in September. Remains to be seen how big it is. The Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee talked about the possibility of September rate cuts today. And Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic, who used to be a big man on campus at USC when he was at the Saul Price School there at USC, spoke on the possibility of a rate cut and emphasized that a healthy labor market would still give the Fed room to wait and see before cutting rates. And it's hooray for Hollywood on Wall Street again now. Shares of Paramount Skydance shot higher today. On Talk, the media company could be the latest to benefit from a meme stock-like buying wave. We see a Paramount Skydance stock. PSKY is the ticker symbol on this one, following the takeover of Paramount CBS by Skydance, shooting up more than $4 today at $15 a share, a jump of 37%. Joining us live now, one of the biggest names on Wall Street at the moment, Daniel Ives, Managing Director and Global Head of Technology Research at Wedbush Securities, which happens to be based here in Southern California. He's also known as the best-dressed guy on Wall Street. In fact, even has his own clothing line. Daniel Ives, thank you very much for taking the call here with us this afternoon.
Great to be here as always, Frank.
Well, you're looking cool on a hot day on Wall Street. Give us your reaction to these records being set here today.
I mean, look, it's a full risk on going into, obviously, end of the summer, and I think it's going to continue, into the rest of the year. Fed, I think it's pretty clear that they're going to cut, potentially twice, maybe 3 times the rest of the year, and that's a risk on signal, especially what we're seeing with the AI revolution and big tech earnings. And, that's something where institutions I think they've been playing from behind. They're starting to play catch up. That goes to tech as well as obviously what we're seeing with Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Well, you made a great call about a month ago with that write-up saying that you felt that the next leg up is coming, and that was a month ago. You were absolutely right about that. What did you see that others didn't?
Well, I think it's, investors sometimes get very caught up, whether it's a geopolitical, Fed, some of the headline risk. We focus on demand that's happening with this AI revolution. And I think our whole view is earnings season was going to be a validation moment for big tech, and that's what we saw. I think that's putting more fuel in the rally. You're seeing the second, third, fourth derivatives play out. And overall, I mean, that is bullish, and especially when you think about the whole, Trump, China semiconductor deal opens up China again. That's bullish for NVIDIA and bullish for AMD.
All right, turning to cryptos now. We see a Bitcoin hovering above 123,000 here at the moment. Got close to 124,000, kissing record highs. Looks like more bullish momentum there. And Ethereum even blowing past Bitcoin as far as percentage performance gain this week. What are your thoughts on those big moves this week?
Well, first, I've talked with Ethereum with my good friend Tom Lee. Everything he's doing on BMNR, I mean, I think that was very, very undervalued, Ethereum. And you're just seeing more and more of now of a focus. Institutions are playing major catch-up on Ethereum. And it's our view, whether it's Ethereum or Bitcoin, I mean, the path for crypto is higher. It's not just about risk-on appetite. It's about ultimately where we see things heading when it comes to blockchain, when it comes to AI, when it comes to, ultimately a convergence of tech and crypto.
All right, now we're seeing. Let me take a look here. A year ago, Bitcoin was around 57,000. Now it's close to 124,000 here, hitting a record high today. Where do you see it going?
I think it's going to have a 2 in front of it, and that's probably just the next step. I mean, look, you could have sell-offs, but we think ultimately crypto goes much higher, over not just over the next year, but over the next few years. And especially in this deregulatory environment under the Trump administration, that's a risk on, and it's an increased appetite for crypto assets.
See it tonight, read about it tomorrow, but hear it now on Mottek On Money, live on the air. Daniel IVES, Managing Director and Global Head of Technology Research at Wedbush. We're seeing the crypto market hit an all-time high and Bitcoin kissing record highs. And Solana, what about that one? Reclaiming 200, the highest seen in at least 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's another one. I mean, I think your investors are trying to kind of focus across the whole landscape. And it's not just playing, whether it's one coin, whether it's one sort of derivative. I think you're really seeing a changing of the environment when it comes to how institutions are viewing crypto.
All right, ask you about Bitcoin. What about ETH? Good old Ethereum.
We're very, very bullish on Ethereum, especially everything. I think what Tom Lee's done with BMNR and really brought light to it, he's talked about, he could see 12, 15,000. I think Ethereum, continues to be just very misunderstood. And I think that's a huge positive in terms of relative to where we see that heading.
Are you calling it ETH also?
Yep. Exactly. It's exactly how we call it.
We want to be as cool as possible here on Mottek On Money, so that is good to know.
Frank, you already are cool, so you don't have to call it ETH.
Appreciate that vote of confidence and that blessing. Daniel Ives, let me ask you about Doge, 24 cents here. Some of these other coins, what about good old Shiba Inu? Are we going to see lightning strike twice with that one?
Yeah, I don't know what Look, I think especially with some of the meme coins and stuff like that, I think investors now are really starting to focus on, okay, what are the themes behind some of these coins? And we know Bitcoin and obviously Sailor and MicroStrategy or Strategy. You look what Tom's done with Ethereum, and I think these are the themes, and there'll be more of them that I think investors are really focused on.
Of course, you were focused on the Mag 7 and never gave up on the Mag 7, and we've seen NVIDIA hit all-time highs this week, pulling back today in this rally, by the way, down to about $1.50 at 181 and change after hitting an all-time high, what was above 183 yesterday, I believe. What about NVIDIA and the Mag 7 here?
I mean, I think it's on its path to $5 trillion and higher. I mean, look, there's one chip in the world fueling the AI revolution. It's NVIDIA, and I think AMD is also playing catch-up, and they'll clearly benefit in the tailwinds. But look, it's my view that this is a fourth industrial revolution. It's the biggest tech trend in the last 40, 50 years. And we're only in top of the second inning relative to where we see it going. That's why we're so bullish on these markets, especially now where it's clear Fed's going to cut not just once, potentially 2 or 3 times.
What about AMD? That one did pop today at more than $9 at 184 and change. And this deal announced just a few days ago. It looks like AMD and NVIDIA will be doing business with China, and Uncle Sam taking a 15% cut of that action. Have we talked since then? What is your reaction to this deal?
Look, I think, and to quote Godfather, right, it's a deal you can't refuse. I mean, the point is, this is how they're understanding the new rules of the game, big tech. And to play in China, you're going to essentially have to pay a tax or however you want to think about it, a fee to the White House. But it's well worth it relative to having access to that market. And the last thing NVIDIA wants to do is just hand over on a silver platter those sales, 15 to 20 billion a year, to Huawei.
All right, and then Apple has come back to life here, higher today. Looks like a new high for the year anyway, of this year, up $3.68 at 233 and change, well off its all-time high. What about Apple coming back to life this week?
Look, I mean, obviously last week with Cook going to the White House, took an overhang removed from the stock in terms of tariff, and that was very important, right, in terms of the exclusion that we're going to see with India. But the big elephant in the room is really going to be about AI, as we've talked about. I mean, that's where they need to do something big. And that's how you could see a very significant move in the stock. Like if they do an acquisition like Perplexity or do something significant, I mean, we could be looking at a stock in the low to mid threes.
All right, and someone who's not been to the White House lately, Elon Musk, focusing on Tesla and his other enterprises, SpaceX, which continues on a roll, of course, very successful. Tesla down today, down $1.46 at 339 and change. What about Tesla and Elon Musk, for that matter?
Look, I mean, he's almost more of a wartime CEO. He's back, right? I mean, he's really focused on driving the AI vision at Tesla, autonomous, robotics, of course, robotaxi. And that's a key part of that. It's going to be $1 trillion of valuation alone. And I think that continues to be the focus for Musk. But it's also why, as in my opinion, one of the best physical AI plays in the world, you're seeing that stock move higher. And I think it's going to continue to move higher the rest of the year.
When I'm going to see robo-taxis here in the Los Angeles area?
Oh, I think by September, October, you should see robotaxis in LA. And it's like I've said, I mean, Mottek's going to be in a robotaxi by October.
September's already next month. So, yeah, this year is flying by.
Yeah.
You're, of course, plugged into Hollywood here as well, with Wedbush being headquartered here in Southern California, and now Paramount Skydance, as it's known. This is following the merger deal of shooting higher today. You track that one and the media stocks as well. Paramount Skydance getting a big pop today of 37%.
Yeah, and Ellison is making the right moves. I think it's a good deal, smart deals, some of the content things that you're seeing. And I think this is one that's actually going to get a lot more investor interest as it continues to go forward.
All right, and let's not forget about Bullish, which had its IPO day today. That was the one that got a lot of attention. What are you bullish on Bullish?
Look, I mean, it's just good you're seeing more and more IPOs. That's what you want to see, and I think we're going to see more of them as this market all takes place, and you're seeing bigger appetite when it comes to risk.
BLSH, that's the ticker symbol on that one, moving up $31 today to close at $68 a share. It's certainly been bullish to see so many IPOs lately, and also more merger activity. So all of this seems to be very, very bullish. Are we going to see a record high for the Dow this week?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're going to be talking the next 3, 6, 9 months, 50K Dow, 7K NASDAQ, 7K S&P, and NASDAQ, what I believe, 23,000, ultimately 25,000 as we look out in the next 6, 9 months.
On there live with Daniel Ives at Wedbush, also known as the best dressed guy on Wall Street, with your own clothing line now too. I remember when we met out here in Southern California recently, a lot of folks were eager to see what you were wearing. We did post that photo there. I was underdressed, I think, with you when we took that photo that's posted on social media. But tell us, your taste in apparel is impeccable and getting a lot of attention.
No, thanks. And we were doing a collaboration with a acclaimed Brooklyn designer that does a lot of things for different musicians and artists, and it's a collab really focused on not just Wall Street and finance, but it's bringing color, and funky colors and funky designs the way I dress to Wall Street, and that's something that we're excited about with this collab. DanIvesClothing.com, and I think you're going to be wearing one of those shirts real soon, Frank.
Daniel Ives, thank you very much for taking the call.
Thank
you. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Daniel Ives, Managing Director and Global Head of Technology Research at Wedbush Securities, headquartered right here in Southern California. Big name in the business. Wedbush. I used to interview Ed Wedbush, as a matter of fact, and was always an honor to do so. And looking forward to our next conversation. Daniel Ives live with us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KABC. Good afternoon. 790 KABC welcomes Lewis Black to the Orpheum Theater coming up on August 23rd. Tickets are on sale at Ticketmaster.com. Right now, caller 9 wins at 1-888-790-5222. You can get a pair of tickets to the show if you're caller number 9. Call right now, 1-888-790-5222. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Winning day for the stock market with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ extending the record winning streak here. The S&P 500 at a new all-time high of 21 points at 6,466. NASDAQ of 31 at 21,713. And the Dow got a pop today of 464 points at 44,922. The yield in the 10-year note at 4.24%. The volatility index down nearly 2% today. We see gold hovering at around $3,406.70 an ounce. Silver at $38.56 an ounce. Platinum at $1,347.60 an ounce. Bitcoin kissing record highs this afternoon. Got close to 124,000, blowing past its previous record high. Right now we're looking at Bitcoin above 123K. Ethereum also getting close at or near record highs as well. Ethereum up $32 at 4,751. Solana is above 200 at 201 and change, and Doge at the moment at 24 cents. Taking a look at some of the movers today, we see Apple participated in the rally of $3.68 at 233 and change. AMD up more than $9 at 184 and change. NVIDIA down $1.57 at 181.59, coming off its all-time high. Bullish, living up to its name today. This is the owner of CoinDesk, by the way, a crypto play, moving up $31 to $68 a share in its IPO day, doubling in its Wall Street debut. And Paramount Skydance, which is the new company that has been established since Skydance took over Paramount Paramount Global CBS. Paramount Skydance stock up more than $4 at $15 a share, a pop of 37%. And now the latest news on 790 KABC.
Welcome to NFL Flag.
Are you ready? Yeah! Are you ready? Yeah!
No matter who you are, lace up your cleats, smear on your eye black, step out on the field and chase something. Chase a goal.
Let's get it!
Chase the big time.
Get down, ladies!
Chase rings. Chase gold medals. Chase all of it. It's all up for grabs now. NFL Flag. Chase something. Visit NFLflag.com to find a league and start the chase today.
Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling take you behind the scenes of one of the greatest shows of all time.
Welcome to oh God, I can't even get it going. Welcome to Talkville, folks.
Where it's fun to talk about Smallville. I don't think you really know what you're doing on a television show until you do a podcast about it.
I've learned so much.
So what did we do again? I don't know. Let's rewatch it and do a podcast so we know what we did.
Talkville, the Smallville Rewatch podcast.
Let's get into it.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KABC. Stocks and crypto hitting record highs today. We've seen Bitcoin just in the last hour or so has been on the air, kissing all-time highs, getting close to 124,000. The highest I've seen is 123,455. We see Ethereum also getting an eye-popping gain this week, right now hovering at around 4,750. Solana's above 200. Doge at 24 cents. The S&P 500 hit a record high today. The NASDAQ extending its gains, also at a record high. The Dow just below its all-time high. So-called alternative investments getting more attention. That includes crypto, by the way. Earlier this month, President Trump signed an executive order directing the Department of Labor to issue guidance allowing offerings of alternative assets such as private equity for defined contribution participants, maybe crypto too. Let's bring in the expert on all this, Grover Norquist, the president of Americans for Tax Reform. Grover, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Absolutely. Good to be with you.
Wonderful to have you with us. Your fan club at the LA Taxpayers Association gathered again last night and still talking about your wonderful visit to Los Angeles recently. So it's great to have you with us here. And I see you've done a great write-up there at the ATR.org website. Alternative asset options will boost 401k portfolios thanks to the president's executive order earlier this month. Tell us what we need to know about that.
A lot of these investments are some of the best producing investments around. And why would you tell somebody with who ran a 401k that you couldn't have that as an option? This does not say that any individual has to purchase this. Different 401ks should compete, saying, here's our track record, here's what we're doing, here's why. And it's a good thing for consumers to have more choices and for people who have products to have more choices available. Always a mistake when the government restricts the choices that Americans make.
Or, of course, we're talking on a day with Bitcoin at record highs here. It's a lot more fun when it goes up, but it does go down too. But certainly for someone who has a high risk tolerance, crypto and some of these other things may be attractive. When are we expected to get a decision on that?
Well, the president's put out an executive order saying, I want this to be written into regulatory law. And that'll take a while to formally happen. It doesn't happen tomorrow. But it was his instructions to the federal government, to SEC and so on, to say, let's get cracking on this. So matter of months.
Yeah, very interesting. We're on the air live with Grover Norquist, America's leading taxpayer advocate, president of Americans for Tax Reform. Tell us how you've seen lawmakers in Washington in general come around on crypto here.
That is very interesting because there certainly was an effort to demonize it. I think that the Biden administration felt it was one of those things it couldn't control, and they literally did not. The idea of competing currencies with the government doesn't like competing anything. They don't like people to compete with the post office. They don't like people to compete with their currency. But it's healthy for the dollar to have competing currencies that are competent, not competing currencies like something out of China or Russia that's not serious effort, because it keeps the dollar honest and it protects the American people. So I think this was one where the left was very determined to regulate the heck and beat it to death. Beat it to death is option one, regulate it to death, option two. We're seeing some backing off on the regulatory threats to artificial intelligence. I mean, one of the reasons the internet became so successful and internet companies thrived was the government stepped back and didn't micromanage it. They decided to micromanage how to build a car. That hasn't worked out very well for Detroit. So whenever the government gets in to help, it slows down. It slows down the ability of an industry to move forward or to fix mistakes.
On the Air Live with Grover Norquist, the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent making some news here, calling on the Fed to lower short-term interest rates by 1.5% as soon as possible. That would be certainly big news. And I don't know if you saw this one, but the Treasury Secretary is ripping Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker, calling for single stock trading bans in Congress. She was famously asked about her stock trades years ago. What about those two big stories?
I think that moving away from single stock sales is a good idea. Every once in a while, somebody suggests they shouldn't own any stocks. You know, if you're in a mutual fund that bets on I want people investing that bet on the broad American economy. I'm happy with that. I'd rather have some skin in the game in the hands of congressmen and senators as they make these decisions. As a matter of fact, their pension should only be defined contribution pensions, so that their pensions are a function of how well the entire economy did.
Very interesting. And what if the Fed does do a mega rate cut next month? It's widely expected that we will get a rate cut next month. Is that the buzz you're hearing there? It looks like the Wall Street bets are being placed on a Fed rate cut next month. Of course, President Trump has been pushing Fed Chairman Jerome Powell to cut rates pretty much since day one.
He has. I think that the debate inside the Fed should be on TV the way Congress is when they have debates and conversations. I don't see why you would risk things leaking that would be available to some people and not others. And people who need to know the way the world's going learn from the reasoning of the people in the Fed who'd sit around the room and say, here's what I think we should do and why. Because then you'll understand what in the world it is they think they're doing, right? You know, right, wrong, good, bad. I just think having everything transparent is the best idea, and I think that gets you the best decisions by the Fed.
All right, so is Congress still off? What's the first order of business when they get back to work?
Oh, dear. Well, there are going to be a series of those efforts to have little bills on rescission, and there are a number of different ways the government can step back from spending promises that were made during Biden, for instance. Biden's people said, let's spend a whole bunch of money, and then they passed the law, and then the government said, we're going to do this, but they hadn't spent it yet. So now the new government, new House, new Senate, new president says, having looked at this, this is not the thing to do. So there are a number of ways to defer some of those decisions until the year ends, the budget year ends, and then the money's not going to be spent. There are rescissions where you simply say, and once the president sends one of these down, you have about 45 days in which the Congress has to agree. And then money that was promised, was that they said, oh, we're going to spend it, and you can turn around and say, we've rethought that, we're not going to spend it. That was the $9 billion rescission package of a couple of weeks ago. There are a series of others. I've been told as much as $100 billion may be considered between now and October 1st.
On the Air Live with Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform, and it looks like Congress will be taking up those two outstanding crypto-related bills, the Clarity Act, as well as that one that would potentially squash any central bank digital currency here in the U.S., which they use in China, right, where they're able to track people's transactions and potentially cut people off on certain transactions or cut them off financially altogether. What do you see ahead on the horizon there?
I do think we have to protect against the government knowing everybody's bank accounts at all time and every check they write. This is you want that? Get a subpoena. Get a legal reason for looking at somebody's bank account, not because you're having fun. We've seen how poorly with the IRS, how poorly they've done in protecting people's privacy. Tens of thousands of very significant, large tax returns and audits were taken by one guy for ideological reasons and handed to a left-wing group pretending to be journalists. And only the one guy went to jail, and only for one crime when there were thousands of crimes. You're supposed to go to jail for 5 years every time you mishandle an IRS return. This guy did thousands of them. He should be in jail for thousands of years, not a handful of years. Really sends a bad signal. So if the IRS can't keep your secrets, why do you think the rest of the government would?
Absolutely, Grover. Well, thank you very much. Always great to have you with us here. Thank you very much for that important conversation here. Grover Norquist, the president of Americans for Tax Reform. And everyone in L.A. sends their greetings to you, Grover, from the Taxpayers Association here. Thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And out to the freeways we go now, 790 KABC.
Jim Rome takes on sports.
Why? Because you're not playing me.
With rapid-fire takes.
Y'all went from the Super Bowl straight to the toilet bowl. He's not over the NFL. The NFL is over him.
Scorching debates.
All the good, all the bad, all the ups, all the downs.
He's the Spitfire of sports smack.
Sorry for what I said because it was appropriate when I said it, but I can't say it anymore, dude. You are killing the game.
The Jim Rome Show podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KABC. Stocks driving higher, crypto driving higher. And looks like let them truckers roll. But there's no trucker. It's just the trucks are rolling. Autonomous trucks now driving highways at night in some places. Let's get everything on the car business now, including the truck business too. Lauren Fix with us, editor-in-chief of Car Coach and the co-host of the Total Car Score podcast. Lauren, thank you very much for taking the call here.
Oh, glad to be back. Yeah, there's a lot going on in the auto industry. Yep. And as things are constantly evolving with rules being undone by President Trump and Lee Zeldin and Sean Duffy, it's going to give you a little bit more freedom. Of course, getting rid of the California Air Resources Board and their powers, that's going to take a little bit more time. And that's something that's probably have to go to the Supreme Court.
All right. Now, very interesting report here about these autonomous trucks driving at night in some places. Are we seeing them here in California? Where's that happening?
You're seeing them in a lot of places. Typically, they're going from the port, like Long Beach, out to a warehouse because obviously drivers get tired. They have limited amount of driving, and an autonomous truck is run by a computer. If you see no one behind the steering wheel and you look up at a truck and you're thinking, oh, my gosh, there's no one there, usually they're labeled somewhere that they're autonomous or self-driving so that you're not panicking, because it is a scary thing to look up and see a tractor trailer with no one behind the wheel. But I think what they're doing initially is they have people behind the wheel, but they're not touching the steering wheel. And eventually they'll be completely on their own without anyone behind them, like a robo-taxi.
Wow. Have there been any incidents involving these trucks during testing?
So far for the trucks, no, but we've had a lot of incidences, as you've reported on over the years. I mean, think back to the Uber in Phoenix that ran over a lady who walked between two cars into traffic, and she got hit by an Uber. She passed away. But there's been a lot of accidents with full self-driving, which is Tesla's autopilot program, and that has been a problem. Actually, they just lost a huge court case in the state of Florida. It was $39 million. Somebody died. And again, you cannot trust these systems. You have to pay attention behind the wheel. I know people think they can sleep or eat a sandwich or, totally ignore the road. You really do have to remain engaged.
Yeah. What is the guidance with Teslas nowadays? And they say it's not really self-driving, but it is or it isn't. What's your guidance on that?
Well, that is exactly what happened. Because of this court case, they had to come out with a statement saying that full self-driving or autopilot really means you're supposed to pay attention to the road even though your hands aren't on the steering wheel. Now, there are systems that will help you on long hauls. And if you're thinking about like Super Cruise or Blue Cruise, Super Cruise is owned by General Motors. They've got over 750,000 roads completely mapped around the world. So they've been working on it for a while, but still, even they will tell you this is level 2 of 6 different levels. Remember, a level 6 would be like you get into a pod with no steering wheel and no pedals and you just sit down, which I would find uncomfortable. That's very much like an amusement ride. They are out there. They have been actually operating those type of systems since 2009. But at this point, we're not there. And there's a lot of reasons why we're not there. Not because it can't be done. It's because there's no government regulation in place to this point that says, hey, this is what has to be done. This is what the car needs to do in order to communicate with other people. And also the insurance companies aren't in on this. You would think they would be. You think they'd want no one behind the wheel. But the problem is unless every car on the road is autonomous or self-driving, then that's not going to happen. There's over, millions and millions of cars on the road, and people aren't going to just give up their cars and spend money on, on buying an autonomous car or take Ubers everywhere. So I think you need to really realize that that's part of it. And then on top of that, you've got weather, which definitely impacts the situation, and hackers. Yep. And that's the big one we cannot protect you from.
A lot of these self-driving entities insist that self-driving vehicles are safer than with a driver. That's what they say. Do you believe that?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. We have proof of that in LA and in San Francisco, where self-driving cars they don't know. They can't see things. You see things, you process them. There's an animal on the road, or that road is just paved, or there's a pylon on the road. You and I know that, and we will make a decision based on that, based on our experience. But they've had self-driving cars drive through wet concrete roads. They've had them hit emergency vehicles. And although the information goes to a main hub, sometimes it doesn't happen quick enough. Because maybe they rerouted traffic, for example. I'm here in Monterey right now for the Pebble Beach Car Week, and that they just changed a whole bunch of roads to go one way. So it wouldn't know that because they're just signs. So you have to assume that an autonomous car would know that, and that could lead to a bad accident.
Yep. We're watching the stock market hit record highs. Some of the auto names are coming to life here. Ford moving higher today, for example. And as you've reported, Ford has shifted gears from electric dreams back to gasoline glory. Give us an update on what Ford is doing nowadays.
Well, Ford's gone sort of 2 different directions, much like General Motors. They realize that the bulk of consumers across the entire country are thinking, you know what, this electric vehicle may be great, but it doesn't work for me. And so they're going to continue, much like Stellantis is, putting V8s into trucks, putting gasoline and hybrid engines into regular vehicles like SUVs that most of us want. But at the same time, they had already invested a lot of money, billions of dollars, into a battery plant. And so you're going to use the battery plant with a new design of processing to create vehicles they claim. We have not seen anything yet. This is all right now, it's all PR to say that they're going to build vehicles in the $30,000 range. But they already do. They build a Maverick today that is $28,000. So if they're going to build an electric version of that, I want to see the final results. It's easy to have PR. It's easy to do a publicity, but I want to really see the production and the final product. That we have not seen yet. Right now, it's just talk.
All right, Lauren, thank you very much for that comprehensive update. As always, we appreciate it. Always great to have you with us here. That is Lauren Fix, editor-in-chief of Car Coach, co-host of the Total Car Score podcast, live with us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. Stay tuned now for the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang. I'll be back with more at 4 tomorrow afternoon right here on Mottek On Money, 790 KBC.
YouTube personality Benny Johnson has cracked the code on a new era of newsmaking.
And, we have some major members of the White House team that will be joining the program. I know it makes you uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable. But, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you just got to dive right in and say, well.
It's a new cultural landscape.
This is the proper messaging. Thank you. Let's rock and roll.
The Benny Show. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.